Let's look ahead to Saturday in the NBA. There are 6 games on. We're going to talk about the injuries. We're going to talk about streaming options. We're going to talk about whatever we need to talk about. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and from inside the center square, Boyd's kicked a goal. Boyd's kicked a goal. From inside the center, I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Twitter, as always, at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets if your best bet of $5 or more wins. Go to fanduel.com/lockedon to get started. Thank you also for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free. We are available on all platforms. Double bang, triple bang? We're going to make it a triple bang because you're listening to the audio, you're watching the video, you're giving it a thumb, but then you're going and pre-banging over on the live trade deadline show because we're 6 days away from the trade deadline. Thursday, February 8th, 1 p.m. Eastern. Not sure how long the show will go. Not sure what's going to happen on it. There'll be some trades, whether they're good or not, I've got no idea. But honestly, I don't even care whether stuff is good. I'm not going to sit here fiending for I can't wait for all these things to blow up. It's about, let's see what happens, let's make adjustments, and let's hopefully make the right calls on it, and also have some fun when news breaks, because honestly, news breaking can be fun. We're going to talk about the games on Saturday. There are 6 of them on. It is worth mentioning that there is an early one. It is not super, super early, but it is early enough for it to matter. 6 p.m., there is a game. For what reason, I don't know, but there is one at 6 p.m. And the games end early as well. So instead of the usual end time of whatever is midnight, on the East Coast, we have got the early game tipping off, the latest game tips off at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. So it's a very early night. Only 6 games, concentrated in, no late games whatsoever, no West Coast games, no Pacific time zone games tomorrow. Interesting. I'm going to start the show with a sidebar because someone mentioned this to me on Twitter, and we're going back and forward on it. That's okay, but I think it is worth mentioning to a wider audience here. And it happens every single year that I say this, and I'll continue to put my thoughts out. Next week is the trade deadline. Thursday is the trade deadline, 1 p.m. trade deadline show. The trade deadline is actually 3 p.m. Eastern. And my advice, as always, as I've done for years and years and years, is save your moves. Don't make waiver moves at the start of the week on Monday through Wednesday, with the caveat that a trade might happen Monday through Wednesday that is important to make a move on. An injury might happen, like the way that there was an injury with Joel Embiid that opens up serious long-term value for somebody. That is what you use moves on, for sure. You make those moves every day of the week. What I don't think is the right move is for people to make waiver moves or stream moves to get 2 games in between Monday and Wednesday. And yes, outside of the first 2 weeks of the season, I do preach streaming in a standard fantasy format as a really key way to win, because it is. Maximizing your games played is a key way to win. But I also do mention quite often is that sometimes we can't maximize our games, and holding 1 or 2 ads to see if something weird happens, someone gets dropped, a player gets hurt, who's coming back, that you can hold to stash is a worthwhile strategy. Every year I talk about this trade deadline strategy, people always tell me that there's always someone who says, Josh, you're giving out terrible advice here. And I just want to set out why I give this advice. Because you can easily come to me and say, why would I hold all 4 moves for the trade deadline? I don't have 4 expendable roster slots. True. Maybe. But you might have 4 expendable roster slots. You don't know. You don't know what value of player will open up. You don't know what happens to your guys. What if some of your roster spots include Tyus Jones, who then moves to a backup player who's the 180th best player? Well, then your streaming spot and then Tyus Jones' spot become droppable. What if you have another player that gets completely nuked because somebody comes in and starts over him? Well, then that roster spot opens up. And I am not telling you that that's going to happen because I don't know. The reason I am saying to hold on to waiver moves instead of streaming to get 2 games in Monday through Wednesday, because that's really what you're going to do. And literally the most you can get in is 3 games, Monday through Wednesday, by using 2 moves, is that you just don't know. And having that level of flexibility for Thursday, I think is important. You probably won't use all 4 waiver moves. You probably won't do it. The likelihood of a situation opening up where you are in a spot where you have 4 stream guys, some of you will have that though. Some of you have got a lot of stream guys or a lot of expendable players on your roster. Some of you don't. Or the likelihood of you being able to get all of those players is probably minimal. I understand that, but I'm not suggesting to hold on to all of your waiver moves so that you use them all on the trade deadline day. You might use 0, you might use 1, you might use 2, you might use 3, you might use 4, but having the flexibility I think is important because also remember is that once that happens, there are 4 more days left in the week. So while if we use 1 waiver move to stream at the start of the week, Monday through Wednesday, and then we've got 2 moves that we're going to use on the deadline, and we've got 1 for the end of the week. Yeah? That would be a way that, if you think that me telling you to hold on to these moves is bad advice. That's what you would say, well, I can stream at the start of the week, I'll use 1 or 2 on deadline, then I'll use something at the end of the week. Okay, that's fine. If you use 1 waiver move at the beginning of the week, you can get 2 games in on Monday through Wednesday. And let's say you're removing a player off your roster who only plays 1 of those first 3 days. So that's a net gain of 1 game through Monday, Wednesday, right? You've gained 1 game there. And then you use your 2 waiver moves on the deadline for players that have moved teams or things that have opened up. Cool. And you've got 1 move left Thursday through Sunday. Well, the most you can get in Thursday through Sunday is 2 games. So you've turned that player that you dropped at the beginning of the week, who was a 3-game player, let's say, and you turned that roster spot at the start of the week into 2 games Monday through Wednesday, 2 games Thursday through Sunday, 1 roster spot turned in from a 3-game to a 4-game, you're a +1. Even if holding on to your waiver moves through Monday to Wednesday means that you get 1 fewer game for the week, it doesn't matter. It is important to try and maximize games each week. Getting wins is important. But a 1-game difference, which could actually limit your ability to have more success down the line, I think is completely negligible. And if I use 0 moves Monday through Wednesday, I've still got that hypothetical 3-game player that plays 1 game Monday through Wednesday. So I've already got 1 game there. If you use that move, you had 2. So I'm 1 game down. I use my 2 moves at the waiver wire, the same as you did, because nothing else appealed to me. And then you'll say, well, why did you bother even holding on for 4 games or for 4 moves? Because you only used 2 of them. That's the same as me. Cool. I had more flexibility. If I needed to do more, I did more. And then I've got 2 more moves for the end of the week, Thursday through Sunday. And with those 2 moves, I can grab someone who plays the Thursday, Friday back-to-back. I can then use the next move to play someone who has the Saturday, Sunday back-to-back. So I've actually used that 1 streaming roster spot, irrespective of what I did on the deadline, for 5 games. The person who used that streaming spot at the start of the week, 1 before the deadline, 2 on the deadline, with 1 left at the end of the week, they got 4 games out of that roster spot. So every year someone will tell me this is terrible advice. You're leading your followers to bad results or bad outcomes. And sure, if you lose your week 5-4, is that the end of the world? Probably not. It's about having a little bit of a longer view of things while also understanding that you still have moves at the end of the week, and there are teams that play Thursday, Friday back-to-back, Saturday, Sunday back-to-back. So I can get 4 games in 4 days with 1 roster spot and 2 moves. And I've still given myself flexibility at the trade deadline that if I wanted to use 1 move or 2 moves or 3 moves or 4 moves, I can. But I don't know how many stream spots I'm going to have available. I don't know how many roster churn spots I'm going to have available because there might be 25 players change teams. Some of them won't matter. There might be 7, 8 starters who change teams. But every time somebody changes teams, that player's value changes, but then 4 or 5 other players' value changes, whether it's on the team that guy left, the team that he goes to. And things can vary a lot, or they may not. But I'm just more in the situations, I just like to have that flexibility. I'll happily sacrifice the 3 days at the beginning. I know this is going on long, but I think it is important because I say these things and I don't want anyone to ever just blindly follow what I say. I want you to understand it. You can apply your own logic to it and say, well, actually, Josh, that's wrong, or Josh, that doesn't work for me, and that's totally cool. But I know that I've done this for years and years and years and give out this same thing every year, and every year someone tells me that it's terrible advice and you're misleading people, and then every time after the deadline someone says, man, I wish I'd listened. I'm not the same person, but someone else, I wish I listened. I wish I'd held on to my moves because I couldn't add this guy and my end of the week is now cooked. Right, so what you lose by waiting to see what happens on Thursday, I think is so minimal that it might not even be a loss anyway. It might not be a loss. It might be neutral or even a gain of games. That one roster spot that you have, if you only apply 2 waiver moves to it by using one Monday to Wednesday and then one Thursday to Sunday in that streaming spot that you've got there, you might get, the most you can actually get out of that is 4 games. You can't get any more than 4 games out of it. And if I wait, I can actually get more out of that one roster spot if I don't need them on the deadline. Or if I do need them on the deadline, I've got them there in my pocket. Again, this is the advice or the approach that I take all through my leagues for years and years and years, through 4,100 shows of this show, through 11 seasons of writing, recording, doing content in this manner for fantasy. And I have run the numbers on it a lot of times. And it's, you know when I talk about this, again, it's a hugely long intro. My process is always the process over the result. It might be a situation where the deadline comes, nothing changes, I don't use them, I go, didn't work this time. That happens. But I'd like to put myself in a position where I can use it, where if it does appear, I'm in the prime spot to do it. And I think that is a better outcome long term. But again, my advice is don't use a move Monday through Wednesday. Use a move Sunday to try and maximize your Monday through Wednesday games, sure. But there might be 30 to 40 players whose value changes 15, 20, 40 fantasy spots on Thursday. And I'd just like to be in a position where if I need to do something about it, I can. And then move back to streaming Thursday through Sunday. So, fast forward that if you want. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Happy Super Bowl to all of you who celebrate from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Super Bowl Sunday is approaching. We are, 10 days away from Super Bowl Sunday as the 49ers and where are they playing it? Vegas, yeah? Yeah, it's in Vegas. 49ers and the Chiefs, Super Bowl 58. And this is a great opportunity for you to get one more W in for football season. You can get your snacks ready for Super Bowl, you get your position, you get your friends, but get your super bets cracking as well. Because if you're not a member at FanDuel, new customers can go sign up and you can get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet or more wins. You can bet on Super Bowl MVP. You can bet on games, or the spread, the winner, the points total, the exact points total, anytime touchdown scorer, so many different options. So go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. Go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and don't forget to gamble responsibly. Again, sorry about that at the start there. Like, I did go on too long, but you know, I don't like being like accused by someone, but it happens every year, of giving out bad advice that's ill thought through. So I wanted to give you the thoughts, the math, the way that I do this, and you take that, look at your own league, plan it out, see what makes sense. But as a general rule, prioritize flexibility. Maybe that's better than me saying don't make any ads. Prioritize flexibility. Yeah. Injuries. So Saturday, Dorian Finney-Smith is going to be out. There are some rumors that he might be traded. Don't think it really matters a huge amount. And remember, with any trade rumor, be really cautious where you're hearing it from. Be cautious about there are certain people who are notorious for just chucking unbelievable amounts of garbage out there and maybe something hits. So just be really, really cautious about where you hear it from. I've had 3 guys that I trust outside of people who won't put it out public, who will tell me directly. I trust those guys because I know what they're about and where they're coming from and where they're getting the information. Versus there's a bunch of them who just chuck stuff out there that I have no business trusting. And in a trade, players come back. It's not just, well, this guy's gone, so where did his usage of minutes go? Well, maybe to the guy just returning back in the trade. Or the two guys returning back in the trade. Think Toronto. Anunoby goes out, but it's Barrett and Quickly that come back. So it's actually not better for a lot of those Raptors guys because extra players came back who were in bigger roles. That's important to note as well. So anyway, yeah, what a distraction I'm getting into here. This is terrible. Finney Smith out. Day'Ron Sharp's going to be out. Anthony Melton's going to be out for the Sixers. Moses Moody, Gaz Payton are going to be out. Zach LaVine, we heard another update, is out for another week with that foot injury. I am not convinced that Zach LaVine is going to be traded. There is all again, you know my thoughts on trade showcasing, but trade showcasing can't be a thing if then you're also believing that Zach LaVine is sitting out to not showcase him so he can be traded. Because let's be honest, LaVine has not been good all season. He's had multiple injuries all season. So you would think if you were trying to trade him, you would get him onto the court. If you believed in showcasing, you get him onto the court to say, look, LaVine actually still can play. He's still good. And the stuff at the start of the season didn't matter because based on what you've seen for LaVine, plus his unavailability through his injury, you'd be like, well, why would I trade for this guy? That's because I firmly believe trade showcasing is not a real thing, nor is like you are sitting this guy out because you're holding him back to trade. These things get overblown so much and they can't coexist. They just, again, nuance, maybe they can coexist a little bit, but they also just don't. Next one. Dante Exum's out. I'm going to put DeAndre Hunter as doubtful. I believe Hunter will play on Friday, but I think he'll sit coming back from the knee problem on Saturday. Keldon Johnson's been ruled out with an elbow issue on Friday. He was originally doubtful. He's out for Friday. I'm going to list him doubtful for Saturday. Nico Batum is questionable. Marcus Morris is questionable. Those are like official tags now at the point of me doing it. Someone asked me, what does the asterisk mean? It just means that this is my prediction of a status or where I see them because no official status has been. Oh, so here we go. DeAndre Hunter just got announced that he's actually out on Friday and in on Saturday. So there you go. I got the reverse. I knew that he was going to be out one of those games, but there you go. So he's out one of those. I'm just checking what other news has popped up here. Quentin Grimes just also got ruled out as well, which I was not aware of. So he's out there as well. So Nick Batum, Marcus Morris? Yeah, it is Marcus Morris, isn't it? He is officially questionable as well. They've also just popped Dennis Smith onto the injury report as questionable, and Kobe White popped up as questionable on the injury report also. Torrey Craig looks like he's ready to return. He is questionable, and he has been practicing. And with Pat Williams out, he's going to have to play some minutes. Don't think it's going to matter much for us in fantasy, though. Kyrie Irving is officially questionable, so he's on the return back from his thumb injury. But Derek Jones and Maxi Kleber are also questionable. Plus, we got one of the more confusing injury updates ever about Derek Lively Jr., who has the broken nose. And he's literally officially questionable for Saturday's game. But then they also said that he's going to have surgery to reset the nose after Saturday's game. So he's got a chance to play in the mask, which I believe is bothering him quite a bit. And that's not working, so he might play in the game on Saturday. Then he'll go in for surgery to reset his nose, and then he'll come out and then play. So he might miss a couple of games. It's been frustrating for him all season, obviously, and for us having him. But that's where we sit. So it looks like Lively could play Saturday. We'll miss out on Monday due to surgery, and then might be back later in the week. Jarrett Allen is officially questionable after spraining his ankle the last game. Zach Collins I think he's officially questionable as well. Well, he's been ruled out for today, I believe. No, he's playing for today, Zach Collins. Sorry, he's playing on Friday. So I think Zach is questionable for Saturday with his ongoing ankle injuries. Both LeBron and Anthony Davis are officially questionable for the game on Saturday against the Knicks. OG Anunoby is officially questionable for the Raptors. Sorry, for the Raptors, Jesus. For the Knicks, Quentin Grimes is out for the Knicks. Ben Simmons is probable. He is going to return. It looks like, I'd say that's as close to in as you can get. Draymond Green is probable for Friday's game with a knee issue. I expect that he plays. On Saturday, but I'm going to list him probable with an asterisk there. And then two other ones. Luka Doncic is off the injury report, so he will play on Saturday. And Evan Mobley sat the last game thanks to JB Bickerstaff's misdirection. Mobley will play on Saturday, on limited minutes is what I'm going to guess. But he sat out the game on Thursday due to the back-to-back. So that's where we're at with that. There's only one team that plays the back-to-back over the weekend, and that is the Milwaukee Bucks. And I found out an interesting thing, and it's not surprising, just if anyone knows anything about Dr. Rivers and how he plays or how he coaches, is he hates young players, hates them, all the way from his time with the Clippers, with the Celtics, with the Sixers. He went to the Bucks, and he has not played a single second to any player under 27. Andre Jackson, Marjon Beauchamp, AJ Green, not a single second to any of those players. The youngest player who's playing minutes is like 9-year veteran Leaky Beasley. This is the thing that Doc seems like a lovely guy. I actually like him on podcasts and that sort of stuff. Real good people guy in the locker room, all that sort of stuff is true. But he comes out when he's hired for the job. And he's like, yeah, we really need Beauchamp and Jackson. We need one of those guys to be a real key part for us. 0 minutes. Just taking them out of the rotation. It's a consistent pattern. Do you know that when Ben Simmons was out for Philadelphia, some of you will know this, when Ben Simmons sat out due to his mental health thing and the fighting with the organization about the way that Doc threw him under the bus, really, and other stuff behind the scenes. Do you know that Shake Milton was going to be the starter over Tyrese Maxey? And then Milton got hurt, so Maxey had to start. Despite everything we'd seen from both of those players, Shake Milton was the starter on that team. And then he got hurt, so Maxey had to start. Because Maxey was like a second-year player. And Doc hates him. Just hates him. Not saying that Andre Jackson or Marjon Beauchamp are Tyrese Maxey level players. They're not. They're not very good. It's just very interesting to see that pattern throw up again. Oh man, this is the longest, most waffly show ever. Again, apologies. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. It's also the easiest and the most exciting way to play DFS. It is just you against the numbers. Instead of battling against thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, you just go in and you find all of the player projections you're interested in, and you just choose more or less. Simple. It might be a points number, it might be a rebound number, a threes, a steals, whatever. And you just look at it and go more or less. And you might say Marjon Beauchamp minutes, 0.5, and you go, Stock Rivers, I'm going less. What are we doing here? You get between 2 to 6 of those into a lineup, and you can win up to 25 times your money back. PrizePicks even offers a reboot policy so that your entries stay in play even if someone gets hurt. If they get hurt in the first half and don't return in the second half, well, your player gets rebooted. PrizePicks is the only daily fantasy sports platform with an injury insurance policy. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. Use the code LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. That is prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. The code is LockedOnNBA for that first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks is daily fantasy sports made easy. And now, let's actually do what we need to do on this show. Who are the streams of the day? 12-team stream of the day. It's Paul Reed. Yes, it was annoying that he didn't close the game, but he played 28 minutes and was really good. Just add him. It's just add him. Your 12-team stream of the day is Dosunmu. Also, a very clear must-roster player. Your 14-team streamer is Mo Bamba, who had 3 blocks in 18 minutes. Now, Bamba, I'd feel more confident if he was getting 24 minutes, and that would obviously impact Reed. But if Bumba's a 17-minute player, and he was a massive negative while Reed was a big positive in that game too, then he would be in the 12-team discussion. But for me, Bumba's just a 14-team league guy. And then with the unfortunate injury to Jarred Vanderbilt, who I said yesterday it looked pretty bad. I was worried a little bit about Achilles, but now it looks like, now they haven't said exactly, but every part of every Woj tweet around that Vanderbilt injury suggests like Jones fracture, broken foot. It's like he's going to be out multiple weeks. There's going to be more scans. It could be something way worse. Okay, that sounds really bad. That's just going off the vibes of the tweet. All the tweets that Woj is sending out. Continually sending out, by the way. Lost for several weeks and maybe longer. More valuation on mid-right foot, Jones fracture. So the absence could be more significant than several weeks. It just continues to say the same thing. Further evaluation is expected to see if it might keep him out even longer. Everything just seems bad there. So we're not holding Jarred Vanderbilt. This is a multi-week injury that has like real clear potential to be a season ender. We hope it's not, and hopefully it is only a couple of weeks, but it doesn't look good. Anyway, that means that Taurean Prince is going to get a boost in more security in the stable value of his minutes. Obviously, we'd look to different players if James and Davis are out, like a Jackson Hayes there. If you're in a points league, you'd prefer a Hachimura over Prince, but Prince is a better category league player. For Yahoo points and ESPN points, the guy we look to there is Dosunmu, who fits under my roster percentage criteria also. Let's look at what's on my radar. First game is the early one. As I said, it is the Nets and the Sixers. Ben Simmons is going to return. So, will they start him? Probably not. What are his minutes going to look like? How does it impact Nick Claxton? Does he look anywhere near as good as he did in that first game? Because he was great in terms of generating fantasy stats. Hopefully we get a more realistic outcome, or instead of like 11 assists in 18 minutes, which is just not something anyone can maintain. But we want to watch it, yeah? In terms of the Sixers, Kelly Oubre is going to see more usage with Embiid out. What will happen if Batum and Morris both return? Does Oubre, instead of playing 38 minutes, does he play 32 minutes? I would expect House moves to the bench, but that's just two extra players in there who, Batum might play 27 and Morris might play 18. Minutes got to come from somewhere, and maybe it's just 2 or 3 off the top of Oubre. Lonnie Walker was awesome last game for the Nets. I could say you could stream a Royce O'Neal, but I don't feel super confident in that. I also am not really sure where the Walker minutes come from. He played 30 last game, but Simmons is going to return here. So do they just cut Smith all the way out? Now, Smith's actually questionable with Dennis Smith, so he might not play anyway, which will further strengthen our Lonnie Walker case. And then I've got Mo Bamba as the Sixers stream. I'm using 39% rostered here, so Paul Reed is above that. Reed's the obvious guy. Oubre's another obvious guy, but they're rostered in higher percentages, so let's go to Bamba otherwise. The Warriors and the Hawks, both these teams are on a back-to-back playing Friday. In terms of streams, Pajemski is the guy that I'm looking at there for the Warriors. His value or upside is not super, super high, but as a 26, 27 a minute a night player, I'm pretty into it. And then for the Hawks, there's just never anybody. Especially now that DeAndre Hunter's actually going to play on Saturday. That even reduces the value of Sadiq Bey. But if you're in a shallow league and Bey is available, he's a good stream. So I just put Jeff Teague there because what am I going to do? Just keep telling you that Garrison Matthews' 2 minutes are important? They're not. The Sacramento Kings and the Chicago Bulls back-to-back here for Sacramento. For the Bulls, I want to see Vooch. I want to watch his usage. I want to see his efficiency, which has been down all season, but usage has been up. Usage has been up since Levine has been out. So just sort of monitoring the role of Vucevic on this team. I don't believe this team, as bad as they are, as frustrating as they are, I don't believe they're going to make the necessary moves, which would be trade Vooch, trade DeRozan. I actually think that trading Vooch and trading DeRozan are way better outcomes for this team than trading Levine. Levine, it's harder to get value back. He's on a big long-term contract, but he's young, and these other guys are not. And DeRozan's an expiring contract, and Vooch's contract is way too much money for the player that he is. But they seem focused on trading away like Levine, which I don't think is going to happen. Or trading away one of their best players in Alex Caruso. So I don't know. I don't think Vooch is getting moved. That is what I would do, but they won't. So let's watch what he does. In terms of streams, Trey Lyles is probably the guy that I look to stream on the Kings unless Herter or Barnes are available. And for the Bulls, one of the better streams of the day is, of course, Ayo Dosunmu. Milwaukee and Dallas. Damian Lillard, I want to be really paying attention to efficiency because it's very, very clearly been terrible for Dame this season. And I talked about this the other day, saying that at some point, when you get to age 33 or 34, you lose efficiency and it doesn't come back. You don't have the legs to finish at the rim. You don't have the lift on your shots and it doesn't return. And I'm a little worried that might be happening for Dame. But in saying all of that, he's at 57% at the rim. Last season, he was at 61. That's like a career high. But the years before, 58, 58, 54, 53. He's at 41% on mid-ranges. Last season, career high, 50%. But the years before, 41, 42, 41, 44, 46. Right? The problem mainly, so we look at his 2-point numbers and they're down, his efficiency is down, is he's not hitting threes. 34%. He's at 37 last year, 32 in that low-volume season where he had the ab surgery, but at 39, 40, 37, 36. So is it his legs are gone and he can't hit threes and everything else is just dropping 2-3 percentage points? That hurts. Or is it just a weird, don't know how to fit in situation? For Dallas, Luka Doncic is back, and why do I want to watch Luka Doncic? Well, I want to see the load that he carries because obviously putting up the most dominating numbers you'll ever see over the last week or two, but Kyrie has been out, Exum has been out, Jones has been out, and I would guess that 43 minutes a night, 41 usage or whatever is just not going to hold for Doncic. So seeing how they readjust him when Kyrie plays will be interesting. In terms of streams, it is Leaky Beasley there in Milwaukee. And I think Josh Green is probably the guy in Dallas. If we do hear that Kyrie's out, maybe you look at Jaden Hardy, but it's always hit and miss with him. Cleveland and San Antonio. Max Strus, he just continues to hover at the fringes of 12-team value. I don't think he's a must, but I also don't think you have to drop him. He can be better than he's been, but can also be worse than he's been, amazingly. The Spurs are on a back-to-back. I do expect that Wembanyama plays, but I'm not sure. The Cavs stream is probably going to be a Okoro, with Dean Wade likely moving to a smaller role. Coro would be the stream, but that's a deeper league thing. And then for the Spurs, the stream value is pretty low, but I'm going to go with Bubble Champagne there. With Keldon Johnson out, maybe deeper leagues, you look at Malachi Branham. Sorry, Keldon's out on Friday, and I'm guessing unlikely to play Saturday, but I don't know that. The last game of the day is amazingly a game in New York. It is the Lakers and the Knicks with the absence of Vanderbilt. I do want to see how Taurean Prince fits in. Does his minutes push back up? What do they do with Hachimura? I know people really like Hachimura, and I just don't. I just don't think he's a very good player. He has proven over 5 years to not be a good fantasy player as well. And people said, Josh, you just obviously didn't watch him in the playoffs. Like he had an okay little stretch in the playoffs. I wouldn't say that he was good through the playoffs. I say he had a good stretch in a certain situation. He had like 44% three-point shooting, which was good. There was a couple of highlights that people were, wow, look how well he's defending. But overall, he was relatively the same guy, I think. But again, highlight reel bias. And when you play for the Lakers, that gets turned all the way up. So I like Hayes more. For the Knicks, I do want to see what they do with the big sneeze, Precious Achiuwa, because Achiuwa has been playing huge minutes because Anunoby and Randall are out. Now, Randall remains out, but Anunoby might return. So is Precious a 27-minute guy or a 40-minute guy? Does he start or does Josh Hart start? I don't know. And that's what we want to watch. And I don't believe in Precious. People love seeing Precious put out some really good defensive performances, which he did last game, racked up defensive stats. But also, he's a big man and shot 31% from the field, and he takes some of the worst offensive shots you will ever see in your life. And that's part of why I don't love him as a player, because there's the mind-melding, mind-bending mistakes that he makes. Defensively, he can be really active. But we'll see what Tom has in store and how he wants to use him. Someone asked me a question. Again, I'm already gone long. We might as well just keep going. They said, Josh, I really want to know, like, what do you think of the Knicks? Like, do you just hate the Knicks? What do you think of us fans? Would you be happy? Would you be angry if they won the title? And despite what I say about all those losers up north of the States in the Canada, like, forget about those guys. Obviously, I'm joking. I don't actually hate any specific team or any specific fan base. Most of the time, what I'm doing is going hard on organizations who make poor decisions that impact their fans negatively. So if I say something bad about the Knicks, it's because I'm actually doing it from a fan perspective. Like, you fans don't deserve this. If I go hard on the Pistons or the Hornets. And while the Knicks, sometimes their fans can be very annoying. But that's the same for any fan base. There's always some random bunch of people who are very annoying. And most of the guys are pretty reasonable. And there's almost a nihilistic quality to Knicks fans. We're like, oh, we're the Knicks, we're just going to suck. And they get good and it's like, oh, of course, we're the Knicks. And they look good at the moment. But my overriding thing is, as a person who does not support a single team in the NBA, I want the team to win the title to be a team that has not won it for a long time. I want everyone who is a fan of those teams to experience the joy of something you thought at some point in your life would never come. So if it's a matchup between the Heat and the Knicks, people think I hate the Heat. I think there are certain things about them that are annoying, but I don't. But also, they won a title, when was the last one? 2013? 10 years ago. So if you're going up against the Knicks, I don't want you to win Miami. I want a fan base who hasn't seen something for 50 years to win. But if the Heat are going up against let's say the Bucks, who did win one recently, I probably would want the Heat to do that. That's how I will see these things. That's my general rule of thumb. And I'm always going to be happy for the fans who haven't seen it for the longest time. Ooh. Wow. Billy Joel moment. Jackson Hayes looks like a pretty good stream in LA only if Anthony Davis is out. Will they actually even play him, though, if Davis is in? Because he's obviously outplayed Chris Wood. But Hayes was a DMP before that, so I don't know what they're going to do with him. So he's an interesting stream if we hear a little bit more news. And then Achiuwa is the next guy. This is the most ridiculous show ever. I apologize again. Let's get chunky. Saturday through Wednesday. This is where you can take advantage of the beginning of the week. Because from Saturday through to Wednesday, they are all quality games. There are no high volume days, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So you can use players basically every day. And there are a bunch of players who play 3 games. One of those is Paul Reed. Saturday, Monday, Wednesday. Easy ad. Karis LeVert. Saturday, Monday, Wednesday. Brandon Pajemski. Saturday, Monday, Wednesday. Norman Powell. Sunday, Monday, Wednesday. Harrison Barnes. Actually, let's try it again. The pencil Harrison Barnes. Barnesy. Saturday, Monday, Wednesday for the Kings. Leaky Beasley, Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday. Now, they've all got 3 quality games over the next 5 days. The difference is all of those guys, apart from the Bucks and Beasley, have 2 games to begin next week. So you can add them for the Saturday or for the Sunday this week and get a Monday, Wednesday combination for them to start you off into trade deadline week strongly. Let's talk about streams, 10-team streams. Paul Reed is the top of your list there very easily. Then we go on to Dosunmu, Sadiq Bey, Jeremy Sohan, who I just think needs to be rostered anyway. Andre Drummond actually comes up pretty well for Category League streaming because obviously you've got to be punting free throws, but with the absence of Pat Williams, you might get 2 to 3 minutes next to Vooch. And even like a 10-7 game is streamable on a day like this. And then Kelly Oubre is the other one on that list. If we go to 12-team streams, I'm going to go to Brandon Pajemski there. Prez Achua, Mo Bamba, Leaky Beasley, Rui Hachimura, and Torian Prince. For your deeper leagues, we are going to Christian Wood, but I don't have a huge amount of confidence in that. Royce O'Neal, Bubble Champagne, Jackson Hayes, who would actually leap. I put him on this deep stream one at the moment, but if we hear Davis is out, he'll leap right up. Lonnie Walker, I'm not really sure where the minutes go, but if Dennis Smith is out, then Lonnie pushes up higher as well. And Isaac Okoro is on this list. And then lastly, as we tick over into the next day, points stream guys. Ayo Dosunmu, Brandon Pajemski, Andre Drummond, Precious Achua, who would jump up higher if Anunoby is out, Mo Bamba, and Rui Hachimura. And that finally brings us to the end of this Game of Thrones-sized saga that is this episode. Go ahead and maybe like Game of Thrones, I'll never finish it. Go ahead and hit the thumbs up, pre-bang, trade deadline show, like, comment. I know someone's going to say, get on with it, Josh, you're waffling. I agree. We're done. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.